So Xbox have announced a bunch of changes to their upcoming Xbox Game Pass tiers. And to be fair, when I initially read about them, I was very confused about what it meant for certain tiers and what was changing. So today, we are going to break down what those changes mean, what prices are going up, what's doing what, and what access you get to each tier. And then we'll get into a little bit of a discussion at the end over what this means for Games Pass going forward. Are people going to be happy about this? And trying to narrow down really what the best tier is for you. So stay tuned for the rest of the video. Don't forget that subscribe button, and let's get into it. So I've been able to find a bit of a breakdown in terms of each tier pass and what it means in terms of what we get, what we don't get, etc. One thing I have to make sure that people understand is the current sort of normal console tier pass you can keep as long as you're rolling that subscription on. If that subscription stops and you come back later, that won't be there any longer. So this is essentially what you see in front of you is what will be replacing essentially the tiers that are going on at the moment and what will be going forward into the very near future. So let's start at the very top. So back in the day when Xbox Live first started, it was all about that initial subscription, and of course it's morphed into an entirely different animal now. But going forward, the very base level of Xbox Games Pass will be Game Pass Core. That will be around £6.99 per month. Again, conversions are easily findable. A couple of dollars more maybe in terms of the American price. For this, you get the smaller library of around 40 games, so you do get some access to a bit of variety, but obviously not as much as the other tiers. You get your online console multiplayer access, you get a few deals and discounts like you normally would, but of course, you don't get Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, or any of the Day 1 exclusives that come with the usual tiers of Xbox Games Pass. So this is probably for the main person who maybe plays his online games but isn't necessarily bothered about the Xbox back catalogue and wants to just play with his mates and do his usual thing. And this is probably what that is set up for. And clearly there's enough people still using this tier, otherwise they probably would have just got rid of it entirely. And that's why Game Pass Core is probably sticking around for around £7 a month. And this is where it starts to get interesting, because they're keeping essentially Game Pass PC, which is essentially Games Pass, but solely for your PC games. You get your Xbox first-party games and any other titles that come along that they decide to put on there. And you'll, of course, get Black Ops 6 when that comes out in November. And you get the full library of around 400 games with new titles added every single month. Yada, yada, yada. And that's going to be about £10 a month for you going forward. So a little bit of an increase there, of course, from the previous price, which is the same across the board for all these tiers. There is a little bit of an increase across the board. But again, if you have a console and a PC, like I do, I've got a Series S and I've got a PC. PC is probably not the one for you, but it depends how much the console gets used. And it's something that I'm considering right now because, as you'll see in the next tier, Game Pass Ultimate comes in, and that's an extra £5, and that obviously goes for both console and PC at the same time. And I'll get into a little bit of discussion why I don't think necessarily Ultimate might be the way I go in the future. But of course, with PC Games Pass, you'll get that for £10 a month, get all the first-party releases, and basically it does what it says on the tin. It has everything you'll possibly need. And for the next tier, you get Game Pass Ultimate. Now, this is the one-stop shop that Microsoft heavily wants everyone to go to and wants everyone to start supporting in the long-term future. This is the big one. This is the price going up from, I think it was about $12.99 to now it's going up to $14.99 a month. It'll be even more for US and their dollars. And with this, you get the full shebang. You get the full library like we got in the Games Pass PC tier. You get them for both consoles and PC, so across both types of gaming. Xbox first-party games released on day one. Again, you get that on Games Pass for PC as well. Support for online multiplayer. You also, of course, get the EA Play membership, and you get to stream games on multiple platforms. So, for example, you can't play MLB The Show on PC by downloading the game. I was able to play that on my PC by streaming that, so that's what that's talking about there. Now, for me, if you're a console player, I don't really see why you would have needed Game Pass Ultimate up until this point, because you would have been able to get Games Pass for consoles and be able to go about your merry way and not need it anymore. Now, for me personally, I had both PC and console, so Ultimate for me made the most sense, so I could play across the board, chuck my save from one thing to the other, yada yada yada. EA Play was a great thing as well, because when they brought their games onto their service, it meant I could play their trials on there as well. So there was a lot of benefits to it. Nowadays, if you're a console player, you're heavily getting pushed to this, and the next tier will explain why. Because Games Pass Standard, which will be sort of the console or the main console usage from now on, that's basically going to be your go-to if you want to use console but aren't necessarily bothered about the day one games of Black Ops 6 and the exclusives that are obviously in the pipeline for Xbox. So basically, you'll get hundreds of the older and recent games, but you won't get the new releases. Not straight away anyway. There is potential that they'll add them on later, but you won't get them day one. You obviously get your online console multiplayer and your deals and discounts and things like that, but you don't get Black Ops 6 or the day one releases like I've said before. Now, for me, this one seems like a bit of a dumb idea. I don't personally understand why you give a Game Pass Standard and not get day one. I can understand if maybe things like Black Ops 6 isn't in there, but the Xbox day one releases themselves, you're shooting yourself in the foot really by not putting those in and not giving them availability. I understand putting it on Ultimate gives that base to those players to get them on there, but it's an extra £5 a month, and you're probably going to have more people more engaged with a £10 level than you are the £15 level. And I just don't see why they've needed to get rid of console level of Game Pass. I know it's continuing to roll on, but for me, I just don't see the sense in it. Now, for me personally, with my situation of being a PC player and having an Xbox Series S, I have to be honest, my Series S has dwindled in terms of playtime recently and has only really been used for when I go on holiday, or if I, if I'm going for a long weekend away or something like that, that I'll take it with me because it's quite easily portable and you just plug it in and go really. But when I'm at home, my usual stuff is played on PC. So for me at the moment, I think the best thing for me is Game Pass for PC, because that's going to give me the full entitlement to the games. I'll get releases on day one, and I'll get Black Ops 6 as well. So why do I need to fork out for another £5? When I initially got Series S, it made sense for me to be on Ultimate because I was using it quite often, but nowadays I don't really see the need to. And there's more and more games now being put over to PC on the new gen consoles, although I don't really call them new gen because we've had them for about 4 years now. So yeah, that's the breakdown of the current tiers and Game Pass and all that stuff with Xbox that they've announced in the past couple of days. It seems like a bit of a backward step from them after their great conference in June with all the reveals they had and sort of the hype they built up with the new game reveals and the continuation of building, obviously the building blocks with all their game studios and making the next couple of years quite exciting for Xbox users to have. But taking away that console level on Games Pass, I think will hurt more than it will help. Because again, if you're someone who's in and out of the console sphere of Xbox's particular consoles anyway, I just don't really feel like people are going to stick around for that if they're having to pay £15 a month. I might be wrong. People may well stick around and think it's worthwhile, especially when you get Black Ops 6 for the price of admission. That might be worthwhile for people alone. I know having Games Pass on PC, I'm certainly going to try Black Ops 6 going into the future, but it's very interesting nonetheless. So with that being said, let me know in the comments, what do you think of the Game Pass changes? Do you think they make sense? Are you an Xbox Games Pass user? Are you going to continue to use the service, or have these changes maybe put you off? Are the price rises too much for you? I know at the current climate, at the moment, people's ability to spend money on things like this is dwindling, and price increases on Netflix, Spotify, Games Pass, all these sort of core subscriptions that people use won't exactly be helping. So is this going to make you reconsider your subscription to Xbox? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And as always, guys, if you want to see more gaming content, there will be more videos out in the coming weeks. I realize this is the first video on the channel, so again, there will be more stuff coming soon. But again, don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.